I try to thank you very much, Ambassador. Well, it's my first participation at a session like this, but I'm quite used to speak on behalf of the government. But now I don't know what my capacity is. I'm not retired yet. But anyway, I think in my own personal capacity, I would like to address this issue. This issue, what you called cooperation amongst the Asia-Pacific countries, policy proposals. On this, it's a huge topic. It may take days, not hours, to find solutions. And you have already heard my speech at the session, which focused exclusively on the economic aspect, sustained development. Now, on security, of course, when we talk about the cooperation, I think cooperation amongst the Asia-Pacific countries should be multidimensional. It's not just military security. We have economic security, we have the environmental security, we have the political security. So security, the definition of security has been expanded in the last decades of years. So it's not military security only. Well, that I think we should be very clear. When I was in the United Nations, we talk about food security, the fuel supply security, even financing security. Now, so the world has changed. The concepts have changed on the word quote-unquote security. This is, as an introduction, I would say now, we must be sure what kind of security we are talking about. But I noticed speakers at the round table have been focusing military security only. That's not enough. That's the first comment I wish to make. Now, talking about cooperation in Asia-Pacific region, couple of things we have to do. We should not focus on US only or China only. There are many others. First, we must have an objective assessment or view on the situation, world situation today. We must accept the fact that the world has changed. And the world is changing rapidly. People may ask what changes have taken place so far. The people of my generation, or the generation before me, we all have seen the hot wars, marked particularly by First World War, Second World War, and then the Cold War, which lasted for almost 40 years, with the confrontation between the two superpowers, Soviet Union and the United States, and two military blocs, NATO and Warsaw. We have seen all of that. Now, with the disintegration of Soviet Union and dissolvement, of Warsaw Pact, we have only United States alone as a or the superpower, or NATO as the military alliance. So for the multipolar world, we have entered into one polar world, which has lasted for decades of years. Now, which period we are landed in now, today? I think we have entered into a multipolarization kind of world, which with the United States as a single power standing above others. This is the period we are in. This is the situation we are in. Now, in this situation, what are the problems we are confronting with? Number one, globalization. We have been globalized, like it or not. This is a concept very much pushed by the United States and the developed countries, because they believe at that time that globalization is in their interests. It's a trend and nobody can stop. They're right in a way. But when after China joined the WTO, and when China opened and began to modernize its economies, almost to their surprise, China benefited most from globalization. Now they have another look at the benefits or whatever or problems of the globalization. So, but like it or not, globalization is something. It will be with us. It has been with us for years. It will continue to be with us. This is the fact. In a globalized world, we are all in. And second, multipolarization. Like it or not. By UN Charter, we know what Charter has said. The Charter was elaborated, developed by the victorious powers after Second World War, with the U.S. in lead, which has provided that the countries, big or small, we are all equals. And we should all respect the state sovereignty. We should not interfere in internal affairs of others. So, that's said, but there are countries, big and small ones, powerful ones and weak ones. We are equals, but the reality of the world is that some are more equal than others. So multilateralization, we have Europe, we have China, we have Russia, we have Japan, and many others as well. And with the U.S. itself is the superpower. So multilateralization is the world, is the trend. We have BRIC countries now. On the international situation, we have another thing that we all have to face with, that is climate change, the sustainable development. We live in the same earth. When I was addressing the U.S. press club in Washington, I made a speech. I said that, yes, we may disagree with everything, but we all agree that we are human beings, we live in the same earth. Let's make sure that the earth, the place where planet will live, is safe. Then let's fight. Let's argue whether socialism is better or capitalism or dictatorship is better than democracy or whatever. Let's make sure the planet is safe, the earth is safe. So sustainable development is the big, huge issue. That's why at just concluded the Confidence Building Measure Conference, and the Chinese president and proposed that we should have sustainable security built upon sustainable development, and this is agreed by all. So the correct assessment of situation we are in is the very basis for policy proposals. Unless we agree on an assessment of the situation, there will be no agreed policies. So this is the area, of course, some of my colleagues around the table mentioned about the terrorism. Oh yes, September 11th, we all know. The more we fight against terrorism, the more terrorists we find. It's spreading. We must ask ourselves why. I don't want to go into details, because there is no definition on terrorism. Can you believe that? United Nations have been arguing, debating on the concept, definition of terrorism, and we have no agreement. Because for the U.S., the terrorists defined by others are called human rights defenders. And for China, we think they are terrorists because they go out of the street and kill the innocent people. They are terrorists. The Americans will say, no, they are protecting human rights. And on the issue of the Middle East, there is the chronicle debate on Middle East. Palestine, are they terrorists or the liberation fighters? So there is no definition. But let's be reasonable. We all know what terrorism is. You cannot go out of the house and kill the innocent. This is typical terrorism, right? But anyway, we have the same task or same mission to prevent and fight against terrorism. So with all these issues, I think we are living in the same world with globalization, multipolar, with the climate change, with the terrorism, with the nuclear weapon proliferation. You know, we are together. We are together. We have no choice. This is very important. The second point I wish to underline is that we should give up. Based on the assessment of the situation, we should at least make an effort to give up this Cold War mindset. I don't want to go to details. Cold War mindset, we all know. We are so used to it. But the world is developing in a way much faster than our mind can visualize, can think about. But we're lagging behind the actual space of development of the world. This Cold War, this zero-sum game and ideas, you know, we really have to, if not eliminate, at least to reduce. Zero, you know, we have seen so-called Arab Spring. We have seen this what in Chinese 颜色革命, or Orange Revolution, democratization in Africa. Look, all those have brought chaos. Wherever there is so-called color or regime change or spring, all springs have turned out to be winter. We all know that. And the U.S. as a civil war, it's unfortunate it has to withdraw from Iraq. Unfortunately, after 10 years, forgetting the bitter lesson of United Kingdom, Soviet Union, former Soviet Union, and before that, United Kingdom, you know, that entered into Afghanistan. After 10 years, they have to go leave Afghanistan again. We should be clever enough to learn something from our history. Anyway, the Cold War mindset is a problem. It's a problem. Of course, democracy is good. We all love it. But what is the meaning of democracy? There are many models of democracy. Democracy has to be combined and should be developed based on or in the light of the situations of specific countries. There's not a single model. You are free to love your own democracy. We are free to love our own, as long as our people are happy. Don't try to, or attempt to impose, you know, one's own concept or system, ideology onto others. You are doomed to fail, no matter how hard you try. You know, this history has proved that. So, point, that's my second point. We have to really, you know, to give up this kind of concept, and we should work on that. Third point is that with the multipolarization, I think for US, for many others, including our dear close neighbors, they should get used to the fact that China will rise. And why not? I used to joke with my American colleagues. I said, China has 5,000 years of recorded history, and you have 200 years only. We give you 200 years? That means what? 5,000 minus 200? For almost 4,800 years, China was a superpower. And that time, you even did not exist. Now, by the EU statistics, over 3,000 years, China's GDP is about 1/3 of the world total. And today, the US GDP is about 20%. A country like China, now we kind of revitalization, I don't know, 中华复兴, I don't know the English word, but my understanding, China should revitalize, should restore its glory. Doesn't mean that we should impose our wills on others or behave like hegemonic power, but we should live as equals of all nations, and we should make more contributions to the world. So this is a fact I think the world, US in particular, they should get used to it. If don't, I'm sorry, you have no choice. Nothing on earth can stop China's rise. That's my belief. It's not a patriotism, it's the evaluation of all. Of course, it all depends how well we manage our domestic business. And to do that, but that said, we should accept the fact that the United States, as a global power, it has made huge contributions. Let's ask a very simple question. Why, since 1945, there have not been a third world war? Basically because of all those countries, we have a UN Charter, and we have victorious powers. We more or less work together. We had agreement that efforts should be done to prevent the Third World War, and we have an old world order, which is very much, I think, the United States made a huge contribution to that order, and we all benefited from the order. This is number one. Number two, US as a global power, it has its own global legitimate interests. Let's respect that. Let's accept that. And the United States has done many things good for the world, certainly including China. Let's be honest. So the United States has its own core interest. So does China. So does others. We do all have. So this is the point I wish to make. Accept China's rise while recognizing that US is somebody. It has its own interests. So with this, then that will make me to elaborate another point. That is, we should cooperate. There is no choice. But when we talk about cooperation, we should never forget the fact that we are bound to have differences. It's an illusion. It's a dream to think that China and the United States will be together all the time. Or China, Russia, China, Japan, or China, India, or China, or whoever, we will be together. No, it's impossible. It's not right even, in a way. And we don't need to be the same. Life will be dull and uninteresting. In Chinese, we say 求同存异. So let's seek common ground while accept and agree to have differences. That said, we should make every effort should be made to expand the common interests, while at the same time every effort should be made to narrow down our differences. But once you have solved the difference, there will be other differences. This is the process, and this is the only way. Since I'm on this point, I think we should avoid a tendency that is guided by Cold War mindset to create troubled waters by pitting A against B, B against A, creating troubles so that you can fish in the troubled water. Many of the problems in our neighborhood, in our region, is created by this kind of strategy. Well, thank you very much. I'm reminded by Chair that I should shorten my speech. And I think the last point, with all the efforts we made, I think we should have the worst scenario preparations. You know, Xi Jinping 提出来了 President 亲诚惠容. That's policy, very good. Common security, comprehensive security, cooperative security, sustainability. That is the wish and policy of China, or those who participate in meeting. There are others who may not like it. They won't say it publicly. So China should be ready for the worst scenario. Prepare ourselves for the worst. And we should have that confidence. I think we should have the capability. Sometimes this is the only language which can be understood by a few, those troublemakers. So those are the comments, and well, I've been reminded by the chair that I should stop here. Thank you. It's my personal view. it doesn't represent anyone except myself. Thank you.